We want you to understand what we are saying. We have bilingual presenters that can answer your question if you only speak Spanish. To begin, I would like to invite Danita to share the history of this project with us. Please allow time for questions and speak slowly so that our translator has time to translate.
Let's start with the history. Next slide, please. With a lot of communication and need for mental health services, the Lake Behavioral Hospital was built. It's a 400,000 square foot facility that takes up about 25 to 30 acres of land. And with all of that land, the hospital actually decided to give a letter of intent to donate the land to Lake County United for the services. Next slide, please. Lake County United is partnering with the DeBrula Company, who built Lilac Ledge, which we know has been up since 1970 and has continued to be in great shape, and they continue to manage. And through listening sessions with the community, we found that there were a lot of things and resources that the community wanted to add to this particular land site. And with recommendations and advice from architects, we found out that it would be more economically sound for us to completely tear the structure down and do a new construction versus trying to rehab the current established facility to rehab it. It would be more economically sound to tear it all down. Next slide, please. Through this process, it led us to meeting with Mayor Cunningham and the city's leaders, and also the zoning committee. And when we met with the zoning committee with local leaders, we found out that we had to go back to the drawing board and explore more housing options, which was more mixed housing that consists of affordable, special needs housing, home ownership, and less density. Part of the next steps is that we also knew that we needed to conduct a market study. Next slide, please. So now, what will it take to repurpose this land successfully?
Danita, I believe you're muted. Just restart the slide.
Okay. We must be prepared for resistance. This will not be an easy battle. This will be an uphill battle for us as a community. We must build the community support for a vision that will help the Waukegan community. We must show candidates that the community support in this is imperative, and it's in their best interest to support what the community supports. Next slide, please. Let's go a little bit through the timeline. And before we enter the timeline, I think it's imperative for people to understand that this is not going to happen today or tomorrow or next month, that this is a process that happens over time. And during that time, there are steps that has to take place before we get to the end goal. So we're not trying to start this process with making anyone think that this is going to happen overnight. This is going to take sweat, hard work, time, and patience, and community effort, consistent community effort, in order for this process to go through the way that we need it to. Next slide. The beginning of this timeline starts October 2020. And as you can see, the ending of this timeline is July 2022. And in the process of that timeline, we need to start with seeking finance commitments from township, city, county, and private funders, engage community members to build support and meet with elected officials, pursue needed zoning changes for the development. We need to finalize site plans, form any necessary legal entities for pre-development or site acquisition, prepare low-income housing tax credit and multifamily funding application for Illinois Housing Development Authority, and land include the funding commitments from those parties as well. We'll have to submit applications to Illinois Housing Development Authority, and we'll have to receive we would have to receive the low-income housing tax credit, as well awards from the Illinois Housing Development Authority. In that timeline, I just want us to understand that people come into projects and they expect us to be here and be done tomorrow. That's not the process, and we don't want that to be anybody's expectations. So we wanted to give you a visual of what that timeline and expectations could look like.
Zoraida, I just want to say that you've been muted. I've been in the Spanish channel and you've been muted for a moment. I don't know how long you've been muted. That's okay. We can ask the Spanish speakers since when you've been muted. And Sofía, ¿sabes cuándo se apagó el micrófono? Estás en mute. Si puedes quitar mute.
Ya.
¿Cuándo paró de traducir Zoraida?
Yo no me pude meter para el español.
Uh-huh.
Ajá, no me pude meter, entonces no me di cuenta quién está traduciendo.
Oh, okay.
¿Solamente escuchar inglés, Sofía?
Estoy tratando.
Okay.
Okay, I can help Sofía right now.
Well,
Sofía, ¿estás?
is there anybody else using the interpretation system?
¿Hay alguien más que está usando la interpretación? No, I believe it's just Sofía.
Is there, Sofía, is there anything particular, algo específicamente que no está claro?
Solamente cuando termine un tema, nomás me dan una explicación para estar clara lo que yo entendí.
I can just give her instructions on how to access it right now. Sofía, ¿estás en tu computadora?
Sí.
Si puedes mover tu cursor, vas a ver que abajo en el parte derecho hay 3 botones que dicen More.
Ajá.
¿Lo ves? ¿Lo puedes cliquear?
Ajá. Ya. Sí.
Oh, no, disculpe, no es en More, es donde sustainable living, because we feel that affordable housing has a lot of stigma behind it.
Okay.
Many people, when they hear affordable housing, think of crime and danger and, you know, all these myths that can hurt the project. But we say sustainable also because we don't want it to just be affordable housing. We want it to be a place where we want it to be a place for people of all races, religions, ethnic groups, ages, political affiliations to come together to strengthen the community. We want to make this sustainable not only in the financial way, but also in terms of diversity and in terms of environment. So we think that sustainable living captures all of that more than affordable housing does.
Excellent definition. But it's kind of a new term, I think. And so we're kind of inventing something new here. My image of Waukegan, doing this in Waukegan, is it's like we're creating a neighborhood. And so it would have a variety of types of housing that are sustainable.
Does anyone else have a question regarding the myths?
I just, Marcia Bernstein, I just wanted to clarify. So if the owner of a unit or the person signing the lease is a citizen, can undocumented people, members of the family, live there? That's what I'm
Amy, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but yes, they can, I believe they can live there so long as they're not the ones renting or owning the unit.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Other thing is, if there's more housing, it takes pressure off other housing that people are moving out of to moving into the new. So it kind of frees up other housing for people who might not directly qualify.
And the rules change, you know, so I don't know, and Marcia, to get at your question, the person, if you, to obtain housing that is funded federally, there are all kinds of restrictions about that you have to have documentation.
So do you anticipate an income qualification factor for any or some portion of this development?
Yes, that's how it worked at Fairhaven, as well as Grays Lake, that there'd be a range of, and that really has to be defined. How affordable, right? We have to determine, are we going to do all of them at a certain range, 80% of the area median income, or 50%, or is it mixed? You know, that has not been determined and needs to be.
Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you, Liliana, for that information, and thank you, everyone, for your questions. It's really important to hear those so that we can clarify any questions that you may have. I would now like to lead everyone into a 15-minute discussion group. And after this session, I would like to ask facilitators to share key discussion points. So please keep those in mind. We have bilingual facilitators for these groups for Spanish speakers, and I believe Sophia is the only one who is in the Spanish speaking group. And I'll be sure to put the discussion questions in the chat at the moment.
Can you also let us see the agenda one more time? Because I'm confused about when we're going to cover certain things. Or else put it in the chat or something.
Shaquille, can you put the agenda back up?
We have gone a bit over time, but
Yeah, Shaquille, we almost did it on time.
Yes, you're the first one to return. They have 60 seconds to come out. You get a timer, you know, so if you hit the timer out, then you'll get out first. They still get 60 minutes after. So you get really 11 minutes, some people.
hi, welcome back, everyone. Is everyone back now? I believe so. Okay. Well, thank you for joining those discussions. I was in one of those, and honestly, it was very nice to just hear people relating and discussing these things. I think that's and I would like to take 5 minutes to ask facilitators to share discussion points from their groups. So you all have about a minute to share highlights that you want the rest of the group to know.
Before, I know we're going over time. I'm wondering if people who have to jump off because we're running out of time, would it make sense to go over the next steps so they don't miss those if they have to jump off because we've gone over?
So this will, with the timing that we have, will end at 7:25.
And people have that in their calendar? Oh, is
yeah,
that
it's
okay?
from 6:30 to 7:30.
Okay, good, great.
Okay, so I'd like to ask Liliana to go first.
With my Spanish speakers, they are very excited about the project. They want to know how we can support. And yeah, I just really happy that something like this it's gonna happen in Waukegan, because it's gonna happen.
Very true. Thank you, Liliana. Carl?
Liliana, I like your cat.
Oh, I have 4 cats. So yeah. Thank you.
I have a cat right here.
Oh.
We had a great discussion, and I guess 3 of the highlights that I'd like to point out is one, a need for demographic outreach. So specifically, young adults and the opportunity for them to have, rent being coming back home to Waukegan. Secondarily, educational pathways to rental and home ownership. So basically a kind of a onboarding process or training how to do that. Similar to what's been done in North Lawndale and the Homeowners Association and that kind of education. And finally, conversations about special allowances for special needs people, for instance, folks that have been criminal justice involved. Is there some type of an allowance for that, and can that be baked into the concept?
All right, thank you very much, Carl. Art?
Yeah, I think that there was two overriding main topics we talked about. One was everybody's really excited about this. That the possibilities for Waukegan and building a neighborhood and all the different possibilities that can happen is really exciting. So the potential for the project is wonderful. But there was also pretty much of a discussion about the use of the term sustainability and a little bit of confusion because it's been defined a couple of different ways. And if we're going to market this and sell it, and everybody should be on the same page when we use terminology. And I think sustainability is one of those words that maybe should be, if we're going to be using that, more clearly defined.
Okay, thank you. Connie?
Okay, well, I think we looked at what can we do question, and one of the things we can do is just learn all we can about the project, about the background. Another thing is that talk to everybody, because you never know in talking to someone when you might make a connection, because that's what happened in our group, that someone thought, oh, I know someone I can talk to. And then look for opportunities, like Amy mentioned, the municipal elections that are coming up. And looking at them and just looking at for any possibility that we can share this.
Thank you. Laura? Laura?
So, no, I had to unmute myself, sorry. Yeah, in our group, they all agree that this is something wonderful for Waukegan, especially how it's going to benefit, or it has the potential of benefiting the special needs community. And there was some discussion around what exists now for them, what would be different in this community for those with special needs, and then how do we engage? So we talked about, continuing to engage through our Lake County United community, the congregations, the Muslim community, the Jewish community, and then new institutions. So similar to Connie's report out, we have a parent, for example, who said, hey, I know a pastor of a different institution. He would be great. So reaching out to new institutions, including nonprofits. And so those nonprofits that are serving people who will really benefit from a project like this.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura. So now that we have the feedback from those discussions, I would like to ask Liliana to take it away with the next steps.
Okay, thank you, Citlali. So we're going to need your involvement in
to Senator Schumer. So I wanted to let folks know that this is, a great opportunity for us to give input on something that could be so very massive. Of course, affordable housing is what most of our affiliates are working on in Illinois. So that would greatly benefit and meet a need that we have here as we're trying to do some of that in Lake County. So any questions about that?
If people are interested in helping, how can they let you know?
They could put their name in the chat.
Maybe put a number 4.
Sure.
Amy, can you repeat exactly what people would be doing with that project?
It's not really a project. It's just we're putting something together, recommendations that are rooted in the work we're already doing. So the work we're doing around CSUs and mental health and affordable housing, and taking that. So we don't want to just come up with, and maybe the gun issue. We want it to be rooted in the work we're already doing, and give specific recommendations as it relates to federal funding. So what it would mean is you review what's being put together and have a conversation with leaders from United Power and DuPage United and Fox River Valley, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So it's a one-time conversation with other leaders.
Amy, can you hear me?
Yes.
The stimulation from the meeting we had about Libertyville has attracted 2 or 3 more people from my church to participate in this. And so it seems to me that we could pose that question to them to get them engaged in what would you want Senator Schumer to emphasize with regard to the COVID money?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're talking $15 billion for community development, financial institutions, $7 billion for broadband. I mean, that's what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So it's large amounts of money. Of course, it's across the whole U.S.
Oh, I was muted. Are there any other questions regarding this opportunity?
Could you repeat, what's the timing on that you're planning to do this?
Yeah, it's short. I know that United Powers, their collective leadership is meeting on Monday on Martin Luther King Day. And so it's possible that we could tag on to, the end of that meeting and attend that and discuss it. And so I think having a couple of people that have been involved for a while with Lake County United would be great, because you know the work. But I do think it's a promising opportunity.
Okay, well, if no one else has any other questions regarding that opportunity, then I'd like to end the meeting now. I would like to thank everyone for coming today. We really appreciate your presence and your contribution to this project, and it couldn't be done without your voices. We'll be reaching out to you over the following week regarding your commitments, and have a great night. I hope to see you all next time.
Are the planners going to stay on for a quick evaluation?
I will.
They're stay on.
Lolly, great job.
Thank you. Bye, Yasmin.
You forgot me.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Yasmin.
Okay. We're leaving now, okay?
That's my niece.